The Bugatti Veyron, the car that earned its place in history by being the first production vehicle to break the 1000 horsepower barrier, and also the first to reach over 400 km/h. It was the next big thing after the iconic McLaren F1, a car designed for maximum performance, with no regards for price. The story starts with a talented engineer called Ferdinand Piëch, which happened to be the CEO and chairman of Volkswagen. Piëch wanted to move up the market, so he tried to purchase Rolls-Royce. It is said that Piëch was on a vacation in Mallorca when he found out that BMW would win the bidding for the rights of Rolls-Royce. During his vacation, his son Gregor spotted the toy car at a souvenir shop, more specifically a Bugatti Type 57 SC Atlantic. He ended up buying two of these models. One was for his son, and the other to hand out to the board of Volkswagen Group so they can research the brand and eventually buy it. Bugatti at the time was on the verge of bankruptcy as they stopped producing cars since 1995 due to a global financial crisis and the spreading of the Gulf War. This allowed Volkswagen to purchase the name rights of it for roughly $50 million. Ferdinand Piëch was a dedicated engineer, and he was known for pushing the development of several iconic vehicles with no regard of the cost of profits. He wanted to create a car that will showcase the marvels of engineering within the Volkswagen Group's portfolio. In the year 2000, the automotive world was about to witness a seismic shift. At the Geneva Motor Show, the visionary man Ferdinand Piëch stated his daring declaration that Bugatti was going to build a car with a staggering 1001 horsepower and a rich suit, and that could reach speeds surpassing 400 km/h, all while being no harder to use than a Volkswagen Golf. Additionally, the car had to deliver 1.2 G in acceleration and 2 G in braking. The numbers alone were enough to make your head spin, but most importantly, it had to be faster than 407 km/h. But why the obsession with this number? Why not around 400 km/h? Here is where things get interesting. Back in 1968 at Le Mans, the FIA increased the engine displacement limits from 3 to 5 liters, meaning car manufacturers had to adapt. A year later, under the direct command of Piëch, Porsche has created the brand new 12-cylinder Porsche 917. The car was powered by a 4.5-liter flat 12 engine that produced 588 horsepower and set the record for the highest speed recorded at that time, 360 km/h. This remained the fastest car in history until 70 years later, when Peugeot engineers specifically designed a racing car to break the top speed record at Le Mans. The car recorded a top speed of 407 km/h, and for the first time, the 400 km/h barrier had been broken. Ferdinand Piëch craved vengeance to get his record back, so in a delightful twist of fate, we should probably send Peugeot a thank you card for inspiring the birth of the Bugatti Veyron. Back in the early 2000s, the notions of a production car with more than 600 horsepower was insane. Today, that level of power still demands admiration, even though most supercar manufacturers consistently release engines that surpass the 600 horsepower mark. So imagine the collective eyebrow raised when Bugatti, with the support of Volkswagen, casually dropped the bombshell that they were conjuring up a car with a cool 1000 horsepower. It was insane. But against all odds, they actually pulled it. This was back in the days when Koenigsegg unveiled the formidable 870 horsepower CCR, a remarkable feat, especially considering that this happened almost 2 decades ago. In comparison, Lamborghini breached the 600 horsepower barrier in a raw car only a year or two after the Veyron's groundbreaking debut. Yet, it's not just the staggering 1000 horsepower figure that impresses, it's the ingenious means by which Bugatti achieved it. This is where engineering stepped onto the grand stage. The McLaren F1, for example, had a respectable 627 horsepower, a V12 engine, and a top speed capped at 241 mph. The Veyron made a monumental leap. 2 V8 engines, ingeniously melted to create a powerhouse W16 engine with 64 valves and 4 camshafts. But that's not all. They strapped on 4 turbochargers, and then they cooled the entire system with no less than 10 radiators. As if this wasn't enough, Volkswagen decided to incorporate a dual-clutch transmission, which was a rarity in road cars back in 2005. Jeremy Clarkson said, "It is likely we will never see a leap like this in our lifetimes." The Bugatti Veyron was expensive, incredibly well built, and, while it not may win a beauty contest, it did reach 407 km/h. In 2010, Bugatti took a leap forward and ran a wild makeover to the Veyron, giving birth to a more powerful, limited edition, the Supersport. The car had an increased power output of 1184 horsepower, which on paper doesn't seem much, but you have to understand something. The Veyron was already pushed to its absolute limits. To squeeze out an additional 200 horsepower, the whole car had to be re-engineered. The Bugatti Veyron Super Sport was more rigid, came with lightweight full carbon doors, and could empty the 100 liters full tank in 8 minutes, which is faster than the original Veyron, which did it in 15 minutes. But there is more. The rear subframe is made of steel because the heat generated by the turbos simply melted aluminum. And for even better cooling, Bugatti cleverly added hidden air intakes under the headlights and in the diffuser to increase the airflow and keep things cool. The Super Sport was a high-tech masterpiece on wheels. At speeds higher than 400 km per hour, you might assume that aerodynamics and a high downforce are essential. But to be able to reach 431 km per hour, which is the Bugatti Veyron Super Sport's top speed, the car's profile needed to be adjusted. To unlock its full potential, drivers needed to insert the speed key, as Bugatti calls it, between the seat and the seal. This activates the top speed mode. Now, in top speed mode, the rear wings fully retract and change its angle. The ride height drops to 5 cm and the front diffuser closes. This increases the drag coefficient and the overall downforce, keeping the car glued to the ground. The Veyron had a quite remarkable run, the car being sold from 2005 to 2015, when it was finally replaced by the Chiron. It was the car that restarted the Bugatti brand, after being almost bankrupted, and inspired more manufacturers to dream bigger and push the limits of automotive engineering by building even faster cars. It was about doing things that people say are just not possible.